The biggest sacrifices veterans have made for their country do not just happen on the battlefield. They happen quietly, without fanfare, without recognition. They happen in small homes and living rooms, with only those left behind as witnesses. The time sacrificed by a veteran is as important as the bravery sacrificed. Veterans became veterans, for they possessed the honor, bravery, and the patriotism that one needs to fight for the country that they serve. Everything which we value in our life, honor, liberty, livelihood, lies with them. The secret to freedom is courage. Now, think for a minute. Your loved ones are always just a phone call away. You always have a stable, warm bed with all of your comforts surrounding you. So many of us complain about the small things in life and don't think much of the major things. We think about the inconsequential things, like people we don't like, or something that didn't go how we wanted, or if we're even sitting at a restaurant and we hear a child crying, or if our food doesn't come fast enough, or if there's a bug on our car window. If we think about it, our problems that we complain about on a regular basis are as small as that bug. When we think about the things that we have to be thankful for, we have the ability to get the good side of life, while others who are actually the ones fighting are out there having to write letters to their loved ones. They're the ones having to sleep in dirt-filled trenches with a loaded gun lying beside them, fearing for their lives, wondering, am I going to live or am I going to die? We complain about our food not coming fast enough to suit us, while they are out there going days without food. We complain about how something didn't go our way, while others have to watch their brothers get shot, and there's nothing they could do about it. Are our problems even really problems? Veterans Day is the day that we set aside to honor those who have served, but one day does not cover all of the bloodshed. This day is not enough to show the appreciation and love which is due to the countless numbers of heroic men and women. They have spent hard days fighting with the enemy. You're sweating, barely breathing, seeing all of your friends or family dying all around you. Bullets flying through the air before the confrontation is over. It couldn't come sooner. A soldier gets to go home, but others will not be so lucky. Some say it's putting on a uniform and carrying a gun against the enemy, but it's so much more. We just have to take the time to realize it. So honor and cherish them, because this is what makes a veteran a veteran.
As a little kid, I remember my brother and I would complain about a lack of food, which only really meant a lack of microwavable preservatives, until my father would go to the Walmart down the road. I would always go with him as a representative of our family to get the right foods. One time, my father went to grab a buggy and spotted a Vietnam War veteran. He immediately stopped what he was doing and walked over to shake his hand. "Thank you for your service," he said. This scene often replays in my mind when I see a veteran for myself. Although I don't talk to my dad anymore, this gratitude was not one of the many human errors he made. My responsibility to America is to adopt this thankfulness towards the people who fought so hard to preserve my freedom and happiness. There is no happiness when we lose a loved one. The heart-gripping pain of the realization that their presence will never be next to us again. Veterans go through this pain more frequently than most and every single day, both in service and out. According to iCasualties.org, 2,286 United States soldiers died in the Afghan War alone. That's 2,286 people that did not make it home to their families. 2,286 men and women who gave their lives for our freedom. It's an honor to die for your country. Yet the desolation of losing your brothers and sisters in combat can be hard to overcome. A recent study done by MedlinePlus.gov states that 72% of veterans from foreign wars suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, otherwise known as PTSD. Symptoms of this disorder include being easily startled, losing interest in things, building aggressiveness easier, and falling asleep with difficulty. This fearfulness is no way to live for our beloved heroes. However, very little precautions are made to ensure the safety of a transition to a battlefield across the world to a battlefield of the mind. A study conducted by the veterans organization known as Swords to Plowshares claims that 3 out of 4 veterans who served in combat and have PTSD are refused disability. This statistic should be a call to outrage. The courageous men and women who have fought for the nation's very soil to stand on and build our country on with freedom and safety will now be without medication, without stability, and without the very protection they fought to preserve. Veterans who have to experience this injustice, I apologize. How we deal with the pain and the fight that you went through is ungrateful. The American people take advantage of the freedom that they have by denying their veterans their disability, or by simply being ignorant of the effort they must go through just to live with the same peace that citizens have. My responsibility to America is to enlighten my peers on the facts of this ever-growing problem that needs to be dealt with. Young people of America need to start learning about the veterans and their lack of basic needs, so we can bring our gratitude to others, to congressmen, to polls, and start an outrage for the disrespect that the government has shown our veterans. I learned something very important from all soldiers, and that was to never give up a fight. My duty is to fight for your rights the same way that you have fought for mine. I want my actions and our government to show that I truly do thank you for your service.
With freedom comes great responsibility. I have been blessed to be born in this great land of the free, and because of this, I owe my all to the United States of America. Some of my responsibilities as an American citizen include voting, paying taxes, and raising my children to understand their responsibilities as Americans. America is a land of opportunity, and I am very fortunate to be able to live and thrive in such a glorious place. One of my many duties to America is to vote. My ancestors have not only fought but died to allow me the freedom to vote. While I am not old enough to vote, it's never too early to start thinking about my decisions. I must figure my side of things out instead of being persuaded by others' opinions. I must take my own stance and be ready to vote when the time comes. It may seem like a long time away, but in reality is right around the corner. Voting is deciding my community's, state's, or country's future. I must be wise while voting. For example, choosing who to vote for in the presidential campaign is a huge responsibility. We are choosing who is going to lead our country. Whoever we turn the White House over to is going to have America in the palm of their hands. We must choose someone who we feel will make the right decisions, someone we feel safe to fulfill that responsibility, someone who will think about what the people want as a whole. I have the responsibility to keep myself up to date and well informed about politics. Another big responsibility I owe to America is to pay my taxes. I may not have my own taxes now, but I will very soon, and it is my liability to pay them honestly. The money we pay to taxes go to numerous things. It helps pay our law enforcement, which is key to our safety. We must have a strong law enforcement foundation because without it, America would be out of control without any authority. Our tax dollars also go to ensure the roads are safe and secure. Transportation is a big factor in our life. If you think about it, we are almost always on the move, traveling to work, school, and functions of all kinds. Making sure our roads are paved and safe helps us function better every day. Taxes also go to veteran retiree programs. I feel like this is a big deal. Veterans are people who fulfilled their responsibility to America by serving and protecting our country. They are people we honor and respect. After years of serving this country, the least we can do is repay them. In my future, I plan to have children of my own. Raising my children correctly is a huge responsibility I owe to America. Not only will I be raising my children, but I will be raising part of the future generation, the generation that will keep America going, that will prosper and ensure America is full of hope and success. I must raise my children to be respectful and wise, to ensure they themselves will step up to their responsibilities to America. I will teach them right from wrong that I myself am still learning. I will show them how to learn and grow from their mistakes. I will do all these things because at the end of the day, America's future is resting on their shoulders, and I must feel confident I did my part in helping the next generation in America. My country has given me so many wonderful opportunities and many more to come. And in trying to pay back what good it has done for me, I make it my goal to fulfill every one of my duties to America. I have listed just a few out of several of these responsibilities, but I am responsible for each and every one of them. I must vote when the time comes, pay my taxes honestly, raise my kids to have the utmost respect for our country, and much, much more. I am only beginning to understand the process myself. As John Rockefeller once said, every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, every possession a duty.
My responsibility to America. Being a good citizen, honoring our country that has fought so hard for our independence, to protect my country, to stand up for what I believe, that's my responsibility to America. On July 4th of 1776, we gained our independence from Great Britain. In that same year, we gained our first Union flag, published the Declaration of Independence, and we had our first president, George Washington. Throughout the good years in our history, we have had amazing generals such as George S. Patton, Jr., who led, fought, had respect and fear from others. One of his famous quotes, "Success is how high you bounce when you hit rock bottom," is inspiring because no matter how much you fail or succeed in life, there will always be another challenge to overcome. And just like our America, our work is never done. We have failed but overcame that and became one of the most independent countries in the world. In the year 1776, when we first adopted the Declaration of Independence and separated from Great Britain, we became a new America. Since then, I've thought very hardly about how just I, one single citizen, can help change the world. There's millions of ideas and people striving for success every day, but I want to help and to fight and to stand for what is right no matter what obstacles are in store. As General George Washington once said, "Liberty, when it begins to take root, is the plant of rapid growth." This means to me that if we all stand together as one, we can make a difference for the better good, and no one shall stand in our path. Together, we can make a difference. Just like every great general, we have to have people who agree and stand with you. Our country has come so far, and the future we hold can be great. In fact, I know it'll be great. My responsibility to America is to honor it, stand by it, uphold what is right, and to protect it. The year of 1776 was the year of change for us. We took a hold of our independence, gained strength, published the Declaration of Independence, and became a new America.
My pap, which is my grandpa, told me of a time when he worked at a place in Morristown, Tennessee called Brookline, a small furniture factory with the reputation of excellent employee care. It was one of those booming companies where you could get as much overtime as you could handle. At Christmas time, Brookline gave a bonus that included a Christmas dinner, a bonus box so big that it took 2 men to carry it out to the car. This was no ordinary dinner. He got a full ham, cookie dough, potatoes, and green beans. One could almost call it a feast. It was a time when overtime pay, employee benefits, and company-provided health care were common. Overtime? These days it's very hard to get. In fact, the standard seems to be part-time, a feature of the so-called Affordable Care Act. Back in 1975, the glory days of American manufacturing, more than 70% of workers were paid overtime. Now, 89% of employed people work additional overtime hours but receive no additional pay. It's not because of the employers, it's because of the new laws. According to the Obama administration, only workers earning a salary less than $23,660 per year are eligible for overtime pay. Christmas bonus? It's almost unheard of. According to the Chicago Tribune, October 6, 1964 edition, the average rate of a Christmas bonus was around 9.3% of a yearly income. Today, the average percentage of a Christmas bonus is about 4.6%. Last year, only about 33% of Americans even got a Christmas bonus. This raises the question, should we be proud of our nation, the economy, and its circumstances? It also raises another very important question. What is my responsibility to America? I don't truly know. I don't think anyone can give you an exact description of their responsibility, but I can tell you what I think would help this nation. To start with, everyone could be a little more kind-hearted. That alone would make this nation a much better place. Instead of people rolling their eyes and saying, "Oh well, it's not my problem," people could actually demonstrate care for their fellow man. Citizens could have a better work ethic. Employers could be more employee-centered, and our government could adopt policies that make our economy more productive, especially in the areas of foreign trade, healthcare, and employment. This country is just too money hungry, and that needs to change. Currently, the U.S. is over $19 trillion in debt, with the vast majority of that debt being owed to China. How has this country dug itself into this deep of a financial hole? Well, it doesn't help that our very own president, Barack Obama, has spent over $72 million of taxpayers' money on vacations alone. The cost of these vacations creates a bad image and sets a poor example of responsibility. Not to mention all the money that we owe to China. If we would stop importing all of the goods that we could manufacture here at home, this would take a chunk out of the deficit and create more jobs. If everyone would consider investing in small businesses, maybe this country could thrive at making and manufacturing most of the goods that we use and pay dearly for every day. There are several applications that are available that you can download to help you do just that, such as Kickstarter and others. If we could help out the little man, it would create more jobs. The business owner will need a helping hand. Workers will be needed, and the more unemployment rate will decrease. With the 2016 election going on, it would help to educate yourself on the policies of these two candidates before you vote. You should always be well informed on the candidates before you vote. If you just pick one, you could be making a mistake. For example, in the next election, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are running against each other, with dramatically different approaches to the government. If you just pick one, you could make the wrong decision. Our nation could fall into economic chaos or even another war if we're not careful. There are men and women that lay down their lives every day fighting for our freedom, our religion, and our way of life. So why is it that we have veterans who sacrifice so much sleeping on the streets and wondering where their next meal is going to come from? According to the Veterans Affairs Office, there are about 76,000 veterans that are homeless and sleep on the streets every night. Something has to change. You can't tell me that the U.S. should be proud of itself. So how long is it going to take before we all realize what our responsibility to America is? I sure hope it's soon.
I see my responsibility to America falling into two separate categories: supporting our military and supporting our law enforcement community. Without these vital services, America could be invaded with terrorism and crime. I feel like lending support to these two institutions would be the highest responsibility to America. Have you ever considered what it would be like waking up in a foreign country, waking up deployed believing today might be your last day on Earth? In the case of law enforcement, they wake up every day having to tell their families goodbye and hoping they will be home at the end of their shift. These two occupations sometimes provoke protest. Some news people and military personnel are starting to call Afghanistan Forgetistan. Deployed military sometimes feel like people forget them and they're just ghosts fighting terrorists. Military personnel play a big role in keeping America free and safe. If it wasn't for our service members, we couldn't have the things we do today, including liberty and peace of mind. They sacrifice so much for us, including their own lives if necessary. Families worry if they'll ever get to see their soldier again. They stay up hoping and praying that their loved ones are okay. They fight for our freedom of speech, and our right to vote, and most importantly, our liberty. All they are doing is preventing people from having to sacrifice their lives. Some people couldn't begin to do what they do. Military give up seeing their families on holidays, birthdays, or other special occasions. When our troops return home from sacrificing so much, they occasionally encounter protesters calling their names and waving signs in their face, and it almost seems that the protesters are wanting them to go back overseas. If you keep up with sports or follow social media, you can see people sitting down for the Pledge of Allegiance. What I don't understand is this: if you don't respect our flag enough to stand up and put your hand over your heart, I think you should get out of this country. This ties back to supporting our military. Do you ever think eventually that our military will quit sacrificing their lives because people are disrespecting them and what they do? I would like to see these NFL stars that protest the national anthem at games and other people who crave attention go on the front lines and fight for America. We should support our law enforcement community because when our military men and women fight overseas, there is still crime on our home front. They also sacrifice so much. They may be killed as soon as they walk out their front door. They have to tell their family goodbye just as military people do. Police also get protested. But if you watch CNN or ever go to a protest to see what's going on, If whatever the ignorant people are protesting against actually happens, they fled the scene, while the police officers run to action trying to keep everyone safe. I've been pulled over once in a traffic stop, and everything went just fine. The news media often characterize officers out to be the bad guys, but in reality, they're just trying to keep everyone safe. I was pulled over for not stopping while turning right on red. When the officer walked up to my window, he asked for my license and vehicle registration. I said they're in my dash and I'll have to reach over to get it. He said to continue in doing so. I was very respectful towards the officer and thanked him for everything he does. Supporting our law enforcement officers could mean life or death. If we don't support them and we are constantly bashing on them, they could get fed up and quit protecting our rights and keep us safe from crime. That is my responsibility to America. Whether it's just saying a simple thank you to a veteran or an active duty military member or to law enforcement, that simple comment of kindness and politeness can mean so much to these groups of brave and heroic people. Just don't sit there and think you have no responsibility to America. Everyone could say thank you. As for me, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help keep this country great. These guys sacrifice so much, and all we do is take it for granted. I'm proud to say I support both these groups proudly. That is my responsibility to America.
Voice. The sound produced in a person's larynx and uttered through the mouth. A speech or sound. Our words can break or make a person, and hopefully my words will make a difference. My responsibility to America is to let people know that the little things matter, problems in our hometown areas are overlooked, and credit is not always given where it is needed. As young adults of this nation, we have been given the right to exercise our freedom of speech, and we as students should do that exactly. Why have a right and not be able to use it to its fullest potential? In our day and age, people use their voices for the wrong reasons, such as tearing others down and creating drama. Yes, the political debates matter, but so do the little things in our community. It is my responsibility to America to make the small things heard and or noticed. It is not always about the big dogs or the people on top. The little people can make just as big of a difference if effort is put in. Hundreds upon hundreds of articles have been written about presidential debates, Black Lives Matter, and the gay rights movement. Although those events are important, what about is what's happening around our city or town? There are about 1,500 homeless people in the city of Knoxville, including many veterans. Not many people take notice to this or do anything about it, even if they are aware of the situation. It is my responsibility to take stand to let people know about the overlooked problem. From writing a letter to the local news editor or collecting canned goods for the homeless can make a tremendous help. No matter how small the matter may be to some people, it is big to others in the area. By using my voice and talking to the kid who no one wants to be friends with, maybe, just maybe, I can make some kids stay. Not only helping other kids, but I can make people that go unnoticed get the credit that they deserve. What about our local veterans, teachers, and even our parents? They teach us, give us a home, love us, and even fight for us. We appreciate them, but do they know that we do? Free is not as free as we think. We can use our voices to let them know we appreciate all they do for us as role models. Freedom of speech can reach in places that we may think are big, small, important, or whatever the case may be. By using my voice, I can help with my responsibility to America, the place I call home. Reaching out to food drives and letting my school know our town's problems can make a difference. By visiting the local veterans or giving our local principals appreciation could start. Change starts with one person. The sky's the limit, they say, but I'm willing to go farther to make the difference.
Being American isn't driving an American-made vehicle. It isn't watching football after church on a Sunday. Being American is much more than that. It's waking up and falling asleep knowing that men and women fought for your freedom, they fought for your safety, and they fought for your rights. My responsibility is greater than the eye can see. When you see a father and son at a baseball field watching the game, you see an American image. Nevertheless, a handful of Americans believe that's all it takes to fulfill their responsibility. My responsibility to America is more than that. It's paying tribute to the fallen soldiers. Each and every day they are fighting while we're living life normally. In a way, it's somewhat selfish. There is nothing in this world that we could say to match their sacrifice. Of course, small towns throughout the country throw parades to honor the men and women who serve, but I feel that just isn't enough. As John F. Kennedy stated, the cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it, and one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission. As an American, I firmly believe it's my responsibility to raise my hand in salute to the fallen as I observe the flag of America and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It's the battles we fought, the presidents we've elected, and the lives we've lost. A few months ago, Colin Kaepernick, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, chose not to stand for the national anthem before a football game. He stated that he would not honor a country that oppressed the African race. Mixed emotions were felt over this controversy. Some San Francisco fans believed he was in the wrong and burned their Kaepernick jerseys in protest. On the other hand, others honored his decision and looked toward him as some sort of hero. According to Pat Brady, Medal of Honor recipient, a hero is a good person as well as someone who is recognized for a courageous act. When a firefighter rolls out of bed at 1 o'clock in the morning to answer a house fire call, or when a policeman apprehends a gun smuggler, or when a paramedic saves a life, those people are heroes that young Americans should look up to, not a football player that refuses to stand for the national anthem. If we were to give up our constitutional rights and forego our Second Amendment rights and give up freedom of speech, where would this country be? When you turn on the news in the morning, it's politics, tragedy, and debate that's been raging with Americans for decades. One such debate is gun control. It just seems like some people believe that gun rights is the cause of horrific events that have happened over the years. Travel back in time to the biblical story from Genesis where Cain killed his own brother Abel with a rock. It isn't what a person uses to cause violence, it is the intention they had in the beginning. With all the opinions, controversy, and battles in Congress, government can never deny the rights vested by the power of the Constitution. Not only does the Constitution grant us our freedom and rights, but it keeps America strong and it expands the thoughts of freedom and democracy. So you see, my responsibility to America isn't just something small. It's held much higher. It's saluting the returning men and women of the armed services. It's fighting for what I believe in. It's keeping the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. If I ever had the choice to reside in a different country in exchange for $1 million, I would turn it down. Yes, America has had its share of troubles like the Civil War, segregation, and 9/11, but Americans will always pursue the achievement to forever be free. As I come to a close, I rest my final thoughts and look at the problems of the country. But I know that my responsibility is to ensure that each and every American will never let down their fellow Americans as we stand, one nation, united and undivided.
To be responsible is to be accountable for something within one's control. Therefore, responsibility can take on many forms. Each person in America has a responsibility to this country, whether it seems important or not. Young or old, every person has a part to play in making America the greatest nation in the world. From being an informed voter, to serving in the armed forces, to simply being a good person, everyone in America has a responsibility to his nation. This great nation was founded with the idea that everyone should have a voice. Because this was very important to our founding fathers, they decided that democracy would be the best fit for America. Democracy is often referred to as government by the people. Therefore, each and every person who is old enough to vote should vote. Voting is one great way to keep our democracy alive and to make sure that our opinions are heard. Because the people choose the government through this process, voting can greatly impact the lives of all Americans. Due to this, it is important that people not only vote, but also stay informed. Being an informed voter means that a person knows the facts and is making the decision that they believe will be best for our country. What happens after we vote is something that makes America unique. Because when there is a transfer of power, it occurs peacefully. In many nations throughout the world, a transfer of power does not come without war. It is a process that we should all respect and be thankful for. Overall, voting is an important responsibility of every United States citizen because it helps our democracy to run smoothly, ensuring stability in our day-to-day lives. Another way to show responsibility toward our country is to serve in the armed forces. The United States Armed Forces are known as the strongest in the world. This would not be possible without the selfless service of many men and women throughout our nation. Going forward, this country will always be in need of people to serve in our armed forces. It takes many different individuals, each having unique abilities in order for them to run smoothly. There are special needs and roles within each branch. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard that have to be fulfilled. This is especially true when our country is in need of extra soldiers and sailors in times of war and distress, such as World War II and 9/11. Those who have and are serving have sacrificed so much and play a very important role in the history of America. Having a strong military would not be possible without the Americans who serve. Every single person in America can show his responsibility to this nation by simply being good. From 3 to 103, we all have the responsibility to be good to people and to have respect for people. Although not everyone shares the same opinions, every opinion should be respected. When a neighbor is in need, everyone should be ready and willing to help. Being good to people is so easy and can help bring unity to America. This country is known as a place of freedom, opportunity, and happiness, and every person in America is a part of creating that positive atmosphere. Each person should strive to do his best in order to help America to continue to be the greatest nation in the world. Being good to one another makes it easier for us to unite as a nation. A country that is both united and powerful is very hard to beat. We can all work to make ourselves better while also pushing those around us to strive for their best. In doing this, we are all doing our part to make our country a better place. Every person in America has a responsibility to his nation. 3 ways to fulfill that responsibility are to be an informed voter, to serve in the armed forces, and to be good to others. There are so many things that our nation needs us to do. Without its people, America would not be America, meaning that we all must work to make a difference. Whether the impact made is small or large, each person is a very important part of making sure that America continues to be the greatest nation in the world.
Make America great again. The statement blares from loudspeakers. Make America great again. Stark white letters are cut cleanly into a red backdrop. Make America great again. At first, I did not understand what disturbed me so greatly about this slogan. But then I realized my problem was truly just one word. Again. The addition of that one word implies the United States were once greater than they are today. So when? Before the Civil Rights Movement? Before most minority groups had full access to their rights as citizens? The stagnant economy of the 70s? The Cold War era? Or the inflated housing market that led to the '08 crash? To me, going back discredits the work of thousands upon thousands of people who have and are working to make America great someday. Our nation has problems, huge ones, but no larger than we faced before. My responsibility to this country is to continue the work of those who came before me, to be a vassal of change, and a herald of a better future for all, which can be accomplished by investing in a civic education, participating in the political process, and by learning compromise through compassion. Education, aptitude, and intelligence span many categories, and can be channeled into academics, athletics, vocations, or even a military career. All of these components are vital to the daily ebb and flow of life. Society needs mechanics as much as teachers, and doctors as much as soldiers to keep us running smoothly. However, having a basic understanding of civics provides advantages that should be averages. Most people do not know the word gerrymandering, which is when the party in power redraws electoral districts so that when a vote is cast, they will have an advantage. This results in convoluted districts and strange boundaries, but more importantly, influenced elections. If people don't know this concept exists, they cannot conceivably combat it. By investing in a civic education, like taking a few more classes in high school or enrolling in a night school at a local college, or simply reading nonpartisan authors and watching explanatory YouTube videos, we can all support what we find fair and right, yet question what seems wrong. To fight for what is right and knock down what is wrong is idealism at its best, but this motto needs structure before it can work. Political participation is the mode by which people can structure support for their beliefs. Voting in local and national elections, keeping abreast of current affairs, and joining interest groups are effective ways to articulate a want or need for change or tradition. Although without organization, many interest groups will be doomed to failure. Interest groups that rise quickly, speak loudly and briefly, do not usually accomplish their mission. Large numbers of like minds working together is the best way to get the job done. As United States citizens, we have the right to gather and organize. We should take full advantage. The consequences of not engaging politically in a calm and rational manner, like Martin Luther King Jr.'s signature peaceful marches, can result in a movement that swells with high emotion and sporadically bursts into violence. Therefore, we have a duty to participate, but to do so with our best foot forward. Compromise is key. Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter, the insistence that the other side is always wrong bruises our nation. Keeping our values mutually exclusive cuts out the possibility, though cliché, for the best of both worlds. Our world-class economy, a mix of government regulation and the free market, is a compromise. The population representation of the House and equal representation of the Senate is a compromise. Red and blue make purple. Any child will tell you that one. Conflict is common enough, and I see my responsibility as keeping an open mind and a tolerant heart to encourage communication and understanding. The bright white slash of a smile following an agreement, a stimulating conversation, or just a beautiful day is the only gash anyone should ever have to see. In short, America is already great. Not because of our accomplishments, but because of the wonderful people in our past who strove to make life better for their family, their nation, and their world. I strive to follow in their footsteps, and so I will strengthen my civic knowledge, increase my political participation, and most of all, reduce conflict through understanding and compromise.
Throughout the years, I have learned of great people who have immensely helped America, such as Bill Gates or Dwight D. Eisenhower. These men started out not with dreams of altruism, but with dreams of personal success. Through their personal successes, Gates with Microsoft and Eisenhower with his military and political career, the United States has benefited extraordinarily in its role as a capitalistic world power. I hope to mirror their Hollywood-like successes with my own triumphs, and in doing so, by fulfilling my responsibility to America by doing my absolute best. America's system of capitalism allows for each person's achievements to benefit the system as a whole, such as when one person buys a house, another gains the money to use elsewhere. It is through this principle of American business from which Bill Gates has aided usher in an age of American domination in the fields of electronics, software, and become the single most altruistic country in the world. With Microsoft, a company that Bill Gates has had a pivotal role in founding and leading, and his primary instrument in changing the world, we have been profoundly affected by products and services such as Microsoft Windows and Office that have generated income on such a level that Bill Gates now has an influence that spans the world economy. This influence is used altruistically. Such actions which positively affect the world's view of American business, particularly Microsoft, and which promote trade and the use of services with one of America's largest corporations. Microsoft's significance in the Dow Jones Industrial Average allows Microsoft's success or failure to indirectly affect American lives through our stock market and the value of the United States dollar. As a graduate from West Point, Eisenhower led a highly successful military career and became the 34th President of the United States, proving himself to be exceptional. All throughout his life, Eisenhower excelled by graduating 61st in his class at West Point, becoming the Supreme Commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II, and passing the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. Through his personal successes, Eisenhower directly affected the outcome of the single largest war in American history, World War II, resulting in an eventual victory. Further, Eisenhower led the process of developing the the United States' massive interstate system. This, an undertaking that greatly affects nearly every American day, provides a rapid, convenient route in between cities and even affects the world itself by promoting effective trade in the world.